The oldest tree on Earth. It's been around since about the time the ancient Egyptians were building the pyramids, which is nearly 5,000 years ago, or more than 5,000 years ago, because there's some argument as to which tree is actually the oldest, the one in California or the one down in Chile. But it doesn't really matter because those multi-millennia landmarks don't really have much to do with this story other than, well, they're trees, and trees can grow very old. As you can imagine, there are a few old ones in Boise. Mind you, not dating back thousands of years, but almost as old as the city itself. They've been around nearly half a century, or a century and a half, I should say. Today, one of those relics was removed from the front of one of the oldest buildings in Idaho. Removing a tree from a city full of them is rarely considered a big deal.
No.
Other than by those who walk by it regularly.
Every day.
Wow.
7 days a week.
However, arborists have had an eye on this tree for a while.
The tree's just become a hazard to the main street here.
It's diseased and dying. And recently, a branch broke off, breaking a section of fence.
Well, and if they're sick, then, then they're a danger. They're a danger.
So it's gotta go.
That's what they wanted to do today.
Nearly a dozen from Done Right Tree Company will dissect this silver maple, piece by piece.
Trees have a life just like all of us.
But this tree has had a much longer life, one rooted in Boise's beginnings.
When Native people were here and then Euro-American settlement began, there was just a row of cottonwoods and willows along the river. So Euro-American settlers introduced everything that we see that's not a willow or a cottonwood tree.
Boise was founded in 1863. And shortly after, because the settlement of Idaho was spurred by the discovery of gold, the assay office became the first federal building in the Idaho Territory.
It was built because miners needed a place where they could get an official government sort of certificate that told them or potential investors about the value of their minerals. The closest place that you could go if you weren't coming to Boise City after 1872 was San Francisco or Denver. So this was a very important building and built here strategically by the U.S. Treasury Department to serve the miners in Idaho Territory.
It opened in 1872.
Makes it 150 years old this year.
And Boiseans wasted little time trying to spruce and silver maple it up a bit.
Because this was, in essence, the first public park in the city, and they were beautifying these public grounds. And these trees that we have here on this site are likely some of the oldest, most mature trees in the city.
But since nobody actually wrote down when things were planted, their exact age is just a best guess.
We have photographs that show it, we think, probably in the early 1890s.
So that makes this silver maple about 130 years old. A legacy about to be lopped off in mere minutes.
About an hour and a half.
And rightfully so, since it's rotting. But it's a healthy hack at some of Boise's history.
Is some of the history being lost in the removal of that tree? Absolutely. Idaho history, Boise history has all been seen by that particular tree.
I know. Yeah. Think about what Main Street used to look like back when that tree was just a little guy. So it kills me when they have to take one of these down. It really does.
Sure, several other trees have come and gone before, and several others will follow, since time comes for us all.
It does indeed.
But it's still a big deal when it does.
When you look at these trees, it makes you feel really insignificant. It's like, whoa,
Well, the assay office is now the home of the State Historic Preservation Office. Dan Everhart, the historian we spoke with who works there, says they're not removing the historic landscape entirely, just, one element of it, and maybe a few other elements. There's a couple of other silver maples that are nearing the end of their lifespan, but they do plan to replace them by planting as many as a dozen new trees, so a lot more. And it's part of the renovation project of the park. They're going to be adding some new features, including an interpretive pathway around the outside of the property. There'll be plaques added that will tell the story of the building and the site. There's plans for benches, too, so you can sit there and just kind of relax a bit. And they're spending about $300,000 on landscaping upgrades alone this year, all paid for through private donations, corporate sponsorships, and matching funds from the Capital City Development Corporation.